Hey guys, I'm Megan. This is Chiron Equine. Let's jump right in. What I want to do today is a reaction video. You may or may not know Matt Harnacke. He's a big equestrian YouTuber, and I actually really like his channel. He posted a video about a month ago about seeing one of his stallions' babies for the first time, seeing videos of them. And in that video, he talked a little bit about breeding. And what I noticed was a couple of times he said, you know, I don't know how this works, or I don't know how this happens. So I wanted to go through this video anyway and answer some of those questions for you. And then at the end, he talked a little bit about perhaps breeding one of his stallions in the future. And then yesterday on Instagram, he posted a picture saying that he will be offering his stallion Emporio for breeding for the 2021 season. So I want to chat a little bit about what it takes to stand a breeding stallion, what you're looking for when you're choosing a stallion, and what that part of the breeding process looks like. If you haven't seen any of my videos before, I have been a rider since I was a kid. A lot of my experience in the horse industry has been working for breeders. I have worked for reproductive specialist veterinarians, so I have handled stallions in the collection shed. I have bred my own mares. I've never owned a breeding stallion, so full disclosure there. I can't speak to all of the experience of owning a stallion, but I do have close friends who stand stallions, and I just want to go through and give you guys a little bit of perspective on the breeding industry from my opinion. I will say I did reach out to Matt or whoever checks his DMs and emails and see if they wanted to collaborate on a video. I didn't expect to hear back. I didn't hear back. I don't blame them. I'm literally nobody. But I do want to say that I did give them the opportunity, and I would still happily sit down and chat with them for something like that if they want to in the future. But let's get right into it. I love Matt's channel. I've never seen anything on there where I was like, oh, I wouldn't have put that on the internet, or I don't like the way he handles his horses. I think that a lot of what he does is awesome. I especially love the video that he made about his horse Chase and retiring him from competition just because he didn't seem to love it anymore. I really wish more horse owners would pay attention to what their horse is or isn't enjoying, and I really respect him for that. He seems to have a good head on his shoulders. I think he has a lot of success regardless of his age, but especially for his age, and congratulations for that. All that being said, let's get into his video.
Foals look like. Now, breeding is something that I find very interesting. It's something I definitely see myself going into that direction. The reason being is I've had a lot of demand to sell semen from my stallions, which has been a huge compliment from everybody. So to anybody who's interested, that will be happening in the future. And
okay, so right off the bat, he said there's been a lot of demand for semen. I would be curious to know if that is from serious breeders within the PRE community, or if that's from fans and things like that, just because it would be interesting to know.
hopefully that will be worldwide. And secondly, it's because when I ride my stallions, I just wish, I'm like, if only other people could feel what I feel, if only other people could see what it's like to ride these horses with their characters, with how beautiful they are, with everything they give you. I think what we should do first is let's call Nuria. She's Sereno's previous owner. Let's ask her a few questions, and then let's head on to reacting to the foals. I did want to ask you a little bit, because I was quite surprised when I did find out in the beginning that there was some babies that were going to be coming from him, and I know that's something you were also really excited about to see how it was going to go. So I just wanted to ask you, because when I see Sereno, he's so chilled and he's so quiet, but how was breeding him? Because when I'm standing next to mares, when I do any of that, he's so quiet. It's, you forget he's a stallion. But how is he when he's breeding?
For somebody who is thinking of breeding a stallion, that is a really excellent question to ask. I don't know if Matt knew that the stallion had been bred before when he bought him or not, but If you find out that, if you're thinking of standing a stallion and you know he has bred in the past, that is a really great question to ask, is what was he like in the breeding shed? Some stallions that are super sweet on the ground and great at shows are really aggressive or hard to handle when they're breeding. So that, kudos to him for thinking to ask that. That's awesome.
And exactly how many mares did he cover last year? Because we're now looking at, because I still haven't seen anything, so I'm really excited to see the videos you sent me of the foals.
Yes, 5 foals.
Okay, 5 foals.
Yes, 3, they are mares.
3 mares and 2
And the other, yes,
foals.
and the other 2, yes.
Okay, that's very exciting.
Yes, and during, I don't know, maybe in 1 month, no, in September, they have to born another 2.
Yeah, and for people in Europe, it's going to sound very strange because usually now it's pretty much the latest time that foals are coming. If not, they should have already come. But in Spain, you don't have seasons because it's not that cold. So a lot of horses, even Sureno was born in September. So a lot of horses get born later in Spain. It's the same as in Australia. It doesn't matter too much about the weather and what's going on.
I want to pause it there and clarify something about the way mares ovulate, because it's true that in hotter countries it makes more sense to breed either earlier in the spring or later in the fall so that the mares and foals can be comfortable. But there will still be a breeding season no matter where you are. Your breeding season will be longer the closer you are to the equator, but mares are seasonal cyclers, meaning in where I am in southern Ontario, they will tend to come into heat from the beginning of May to end of October, sort of. But regardless of where they are in the world, a mare is going to come into heat based on the amount of daylight she's getting. So Spain may have a longer breeding season and allow them to breed later into the season for better weather for the mares and foals, but they will still have a time of year where those mares stop cycling just based on the ratio of hours daylight to nighttime. It's also the reason that we can manipulate their cycles in the industries where they want them born at a certain time of year. You can manipulate that by keeping the mares indoors under UV light bulbs for a longer part of the day to trick their bodies into thinking that it's breeding season.
With the foals, have you seen a little bit what the character has been like? Is it like him, or because I'm curious how that's going to be.
They are so big, all of them. They
Really?
are so big, and they have really big bones.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
The 3 canta on the walk and
The 3 paces, walk, trot, canter, are good.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's always, you never know what a stallion is going to pass down to the foals. You can have a really good stallion and then the foals just don't take that. Maybe they take from the previous lines from the mares, and it's not all about breeding.
Also he's
That's a really good point to make, and I'm glad that he brought that up. Especially with a first-year stallion, you don't know what they're going to throw, what parts of their genetics are going to be dominant. And you only really start to see that pattern after a couple of breeding seasons. You'll see people say things like, oh, wow, he really stamps them, meaning you can see a lot of the stallion in the foals. Some stallions really consistently throw a head shape that's similar to theirs, which might be important to you if you've got a mare who's gorgeous but maybe has sort of a coarser, plainer head. The stallion that I bred my mare Hope to, who's due next year, he really stamps them with his signature uphill rolling canter, and that is one of the things that I love about him. So, really important question to ask is sort of what is he stamping them with?
a new stallion because he doesn't have any foal before.
Yeah, this is his first year of his foals being born. But I can't wait. I'm so excited to see, because I saw you send me some photos and videos. I haven't looked yet.
You are a grandpa.
I know. I'm a granddad already. Very interesting to hear about how quiet Sereno is with breeding. That's something that really kind of I wasn't so sure about, because he's so chilled. Like when it comes to breeding, they have to be awake. They have to get the job done. And for instance, when we went and collected semen from Antares, when he was still a stallion, at the beginning he just had no idea what to do and how to do it. It took him a really long time until he jumped the dummy and did his thing.
That's worth noting as well, that young stallions that have never bred before, or older stallions but that have never bred before, do usually need a session or two of training on collection, and that's very normal. If you're a stallion owner or thinking of owning a stallion, that is something to take into consideration. You usually won't just start breeding right away, and you want to find somebody who is super experienced with collecting stallions to give your stallion a really good experience, because if they are trying to learn to collect and they get scared or they get hurt, they may never want to collect again. And I have known stallions that has happened to, and it's really unfortunate when it happens. So if stallion ownership is something you're even remotely considering, that's something you need to plan for in the back of your brain, is sending them to the collection center ahead of time to start learning about their job.
We're gonna start off with the first video, which I've already seen is a chestnut foal. Now I don't know if that was a chestnut or not, but let's see. Okay, I'm gonna click play. Let's see what it looks like. Oh my god. They're so funny when they're just running around.
All foals are adorable. The reason he said I don't know if it's going to stay chestnut or not is because the gray gene is not its own color. It's a mutation. Kind of the same as in people. It takes over time. So if your foal is born a color, that's their base genetic color. And if they have the gray gene, they are going to start to go lighter over time. Because this mare is also gray, there is at absolute maximum a 25% chance that foal stays chestnut. Let me back up a second. So that gray gene mutation is dominant, meaning if they have one copy of it, it expresses. So if they have one gray gene, the horse is gray. If they have two gray genes, the horse is gray. But if either of those parents has two copies of gray, that means they can only pass on gray to their offspring, and that foal will 100% turn gray. So with two gray parents, without knowing anything else, without having a DNA color test on them, there is a 75% chance right off the bat that baby is going to turn gray. And things that we look for when a foal is born to try and determine if it's going to go gray, this foal has some of those signs, but not all of them. So things that we look for, foals that are going to turn gray are typically born darker than a foal that's going to stay solid colored. A foal that's going to stay solid color is born a little bit lighter and has a very light belly and legs. It's called foal camouflage. A foal that's going to turn gray is usually born an almost adult looking darker color. And this foal is a pretty light chestnut, and it has really light legs. So that's not an easy indicator. It's not a great way to tell, especially with this baby. The other thing that I'm noticing that tells me this baby will almost certainly go gray is around its eyes. When the foal's born, if they're gray, they usually have what we call gray goggles. Even if it's just a couple of hairs, they will usually have white hair somewhere around their eyes or maybe somewhere around their nostrils, and that's another way that you can tell that they're likely to go gray. So I would be willing to bet that this horse is going to turn gray at some point.
Let's go to the next slide. Oh, it's a photo. Let's have a look. I'm zooming. Yeah, I think firstly, the foal is huge. It's huge. Look at the legs, look at the head, it's huge. But if we focus on the head, I really see like a resemblance with Chiron in the head. Am I just seeing that? Like, also for some people that don't know, foals a lot of the time come out one color and then they will kind of change color and transition. I'm not an expert, I'm not the best at foals or any of that kind of stuff. But I do see a big difference a lot of the time from the first coat they get born into and later on.
That's exactly true. Like I just said, that full camouflage, they're usually born lighter than they are going to finish up, but to what extent can change. If you guys want me to do a video about color genetics, leave a comment down below and I can put that together for you.
Okay, it's another color again. It's another color. Okay, so this time, this foal looks to be bay. Let's play. Oh my god. Look, again, it's got two hind kind of white socks.
This is a perfect example of what I was just talking about, where they don't have the full camouflage or the counter shading. This foal looks solid dark bay like an adult would. It doesn't have the full light belly, and I will insert a picture somewhere of Violet when she was born so that you can see the difference of what that color looked like.
Things happening, and it has like a little star. Is that the other foal of Serena also in the back? Okay, both gray mares, which I'm guessing maybe this one will also... I don't think this foal will stay bay either. I think this foal will also go gray. Whoa, it's really big. These foals are not very old. Let me see the movement. Oh my god, how cute. This makes me want to breed so bad. Freaking COVID ruined everything this year.
Don't get caught up in breeding just because they're cute, pretty please. I will say I am not making this video to comment on whether I think Matt should or should not breed his horses. The truth is I don't know enough about the PRE breed standards to know if Emporio or Sereno are good examples of the breed that should be bred. That is for inspectors or stallion test evaluators or whatever they do in the PRE breed to evaluate their stallions. That's for them to decide. And I have all the faith in the world that Matt is getting the best advice he possibly can, which is awesome. I don't think anything should be a breeding stallion just because it's capable of being a breeding stallion. I think that you really should consult with experts in your breed and decide collectively if it's a good idea. I really do believe in getting many opinions. So yeah, in any breed, what I think is important is adhering to your breed standard and having a really clear vision on what you want and what you want to produce. And we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end.
Oh, look at that trot! Yes, Canter. Whoa! I like how it's already used to dogs. Oh my god, how cute! Okay, we're ready for the next one. I'm not ready, but we're ready. Okay, let's have a look. Oh my god! Where did this one come from? Okay, I'm not seeing the resemblance at all here.
That can happen too. You get two foals where you go, oh yeah, I can definitely see where that and that and that came from my stallion, and then sometimes it's just like, nope, that baby could have been born with just mom involved and stallion had nothing to do with it. I think this baby is also very likely to go gray, again, because he doesn't have the light belly and light legs that we would expect for a horse that doesn't have a gray gene.
Oh, there's something about foals, like they just make you happy and just want to like watch them all day in the field. This is also why we need more stables, because I want to breed. No, very cute.
That's an addictive problem. I can't even imagine being in a position to say, oh, well, I really want to breed, so let's just build more stalls. But if you can do it, go for it. That's awesome.
But yeah, well, I think that is everything for now. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Do let me know what you think of his foals. I know we didn't get to see all of them, but we definitely got a bit of an idea, and I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know. I'm also really curious to hear from you guys what you think about kind of like me entering the breeding journey. Look, there's a whole argument people can go down that, you know, the market is already oversaturated and you shouldn't be breeding just to breed. firstly, I would never breed more than I can hold myself. Like, I would never breed to, like, just sell on to thousands of people. Like, I would breed within my means of what I can support without selling, which would only be, like, 2 or 3. That's all I envision for myself, especially to give not only myself, but to gain an understanding of what potentially could come from this horse. I think I will be breeding first from Emporio, and then potentially from Chiron a little bit later. But we will see. There's just so much excitement happening. Babies and foals make me so happy. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys like. Let me know what. Do let me know.
I'm really glad he said that he is open to criticism and opinions. So it's time for mine. What I think about it, like I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, I don't know enough about the PRE breed to speak to his stallions specifically. I have had a coach in the past who has worked extensively with PREs in Spain and Portugal, and the way she put it was, in Andalusians, they don't gild anything unless it's ugly. And I have found that to be true. They certainly do keep a lot more horses intact than a lot of other breeds do, and that's fine if you have a way to manage them properly. One of the things that I appreciate about the Andalusians is they seem to have bred for good minds for generations and generations and generations. So there's not a lot of risk of that type of horse becoming more aggressive than the average owner can handle. But I also don't think the average owner should have stallions, full stop. They're just a little bit more liability than they're worth. You need extra secure fencing. You either need really specific buddies for them, or they have to live alone, which can be a really tough life for a horse. So there is a lot of planning that goes into just owning a stallion, and obviously Matt has made that decision a couple of years ago. In terms of breeding, I don't necessarily think it's irresponsible to breed a couple of foals and see what your stallion is producing consistently. And then at that point, you can make a decision moving forward. What I don't like to see is somebody deciding that their stallion is nice enough to breed, whether they're right or wrong, and then breeding to anybody who will pay the stud fee. You're not doing the value of your stallion any favors, because if you are willing to breed to subpar mares just for the money, which I'm not insinuating at all that Matt is planning to do, but if you're willing to breed your stallion to subpar mares, they are likely to throw subpar foals, and then people are going to look at that and say, oh, that's what he's producing. So there's one thing to be said, and here's another thing I want to touch on. Matt posted to his Instagram yesterday, which I did mention earlier, that he is planning to offer Emporio for 2021, which he said in the video as well. He'd probably offer Emporio first. And one of the things he said in his Instagram post is that he is thinking about getting a nice KWPN mare, which is a warm blood mare, to possibly cross to Emporio and see what that produces. And there's a responsible and irresponsible way to do that as well. From a breeder's perspective, you want to have the nicest quality mare that you can possibly afford. Most of the warm blood registries, when they're inspecting mares for breeding licensing, to be licensed in the breeding book, they are only offering licensing to the top 25 or 30% of mares, which tells me that most registries believe only the top 30% of mares are worth breeding on to see what they produce. If they don't get a 70% at their inspection, then they don't get a breeding licensing, which means their foals can't be registered. Is registration important is its own whole video, and again, let me know in the comments below if that's something that you want to watch. But I think that if you're breeding outside the stallion's breed, it's important to still have the best quality mare that you possibly can and have a vision for what that foal is going to do, is going to be worth. I know that Matt has said that he only wants to breed for himself, and that's awesome, and I think that's a great way to go about it, is to not breed more than you can take care of at any given time. I don't think there's anything wrong with breeding to sell. I'm breeding to sell, but I'm very, very careful to breed crosses that are likely to sell. What I don't want to do, and what I don't want to see anybody else do, is breed just because they have the paddock space and then end up in a situation where, God forbid, something should happen to Matt, his lifestyle should change, he's produced a bunch of horses that really don't have a good chance of finding a good home because they're not sound or their conformation's not good, or, and again, not insinuating that that's the plan, but you can breed the best quality mare to the best quality stallion and still get a mediocre horse. And knowing that, why would you ever choose to start with a mediocre mare? There's just no good reason to. So that's something to really, really be careful of when you are selecting parents for a future foal. And then again, it can be important in the first couple of years of a stallion's breeding life to breed a couple of outside mares, outside of the breed, so non-PRE mares, non-purebred foals, to see what the stallion is likely to produce. But that doesn't mean you should just breed to anybody who can cover the stud fee, and that is something that's really, really important to me. A lot of the stallion owners that I really respect limit their book to 20 or 30 mares per year because they don't want the value of those foals to tank because there's so many of them. We see that in the industries where there's completely unrestricted breeding, like the thoroughbreds. The name of the stallion ends up not mattering at all after the fact because they're a dime a dozen. So that is something that from a business perspective you don't want to do to your horse. And breeding is a business at the end of the day. If you only ever want to breed your horse for 1 or 2 foals to keep for yourself, your stallion is going to have a much better life if you collect him, breed the mare, or collect him and free semen for later and then geld him and let him live like a regular horse. So there's a lot to consider. Like I said, I have not owned a stallion, but I have handled stallions. I've worked in the breeding business. I have worked in actual, like in the stallion collection. I have worked in the lab. So I have seen most of aspects of the breeding business. I've also done the foaling out on the other end, and that's a video that I already talked about, and I will link it up here, my what to consider before breeding your mare. Thank you so much for sitting through this, guys. I really appreciate your time. Let me know what you think. Would you breed to Emporio? Do you like that a YouTuber owns a stallion or is advertising a stallion for breeding? I'm really interested in your opinions, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.